One of the questions that I'm frequently asked is, why do coaches need supervision? Can they get away without having supervision? And the answer is only at the risk to their own well-being and the well-being of their clients. And the reasons for this are several. But the first is that the whole area of coaching is growing rapidly, and it's changing rapidly. So what 5 years ago might have been considered to be good practice is now just mediocre practice. We are expanding the range of what we can do and the complexity of how we do it. And so having a supervisor is a really important part of keeping us grounded. And this complexity makes everything much more demanding. It requires us to see things through systemic perspectives, for example. And most of the time, managers that we work with or clients of any kind will have a linear perspective on things. So we as coaches need to be able to step back and to provide alternative perspectives. And supervision helps us to do that. It helps us see the patterns and the systems in the cases that we bring for examination. And in the work that we've been doing around coach maturity over several years now, one of the things that's come out extremely clearly is one of the drivers, the engines that help coaches move from coaching 101 to being really mature, effective coaches, to being masterful, if you like, as coaches, is the quality of their reflection. Now, we can do reflection on our own. We can make notes and look at what did I say, and think about the kind of questions we ask, for example. But that's not good enough. If we want to have true reflection, we do reflection with somebody else who can ask us questions that we wouldn't have asked ourselves, who can give us different perspectives, who can bring a theoretical knowledge so that to put into context the issues that we're facing. And it's that different perspective, that breadth that a supervisor brings, that makes the whole role so valuable in terms of helping us to grow as a coach. Now, you might say that there are things like, well, what about a coach mentor that some of the professional organizations provide? But that doesn't provide this depth of understanding. That's primarily about building your business. What a trained, effective and accredited supervisor does is actually take you into the depth of yourself and your practice and how that's growing, so that you get a sense of real progress in who you are as a coach. And that's so important, because you move from doing coaching, firstly doing coaching to people, then doing coaching with people, to being a coach, where you integrate who you are with what you do. But then you move beyond that. And really mature coaches, they basically, we talk about holding the client while the client has the conversation the client needs to have with themselves. To make these transitions, we need that quality of reflection. And supervision is one of the key ways in which we achieve that. It's basically helping us to make our journey to maturity that much faster. And the last thing that I think is so important about having a supervisor is that helping other people through all their issues can be really wearing emotionally. It's not unknown for coaches to suffer from compassion fatigue, for example. And what supervision does is give us a safe space to let our own emotions come out, to build our resilience, and to look after our own well-being. Because we can only really look after the well-being of our clients if we're looking after the well-being of ourselves. So what supervision does, it's sometimes described as formative, restorative, and normative. So the formative bit is additional education. The normative is about how we make sure that we are safe and ethical. And very often in an increasingly complex environment, we need to bring ethical issues to the fore and work out what is the ethical thing for me to do as a coach. What's the ethical thing for my client to do? Um, and then the last thing, restorative, how we look after our well-being. It's absolutely essential that anybody who presents themselves as a supervisor does have training to do this, because it's such a very different kind of role from being a coach. It's called supervision because it is a higher level of thinking. And what the supervisor does is to help to raise us up gradually, step by step. And what you'll find as a coach is that you will gradually seek new supervisors, because you'll find that you're coming up to the level of the one you have. That's brilliant. So now you go and seek additional supervisors. Maybe they have a different background. You might move from one who's who has a background in social sciences to one who has a background in Gestalt, for example. It's a way of growing and expanding your practice by expanding the range of supervision that you have. So supervision, an absolute necessity for anybody who's serious about being a coach, and increasingly anybody who's serious about being a mentor.